Hey South Naz kids, welcome to Power Factory. I'm so glad that you are here watching our Power Factory this morning. We have a great lesson that we are going to talk about. And if you were watching live on Wednesday, we're going to be talking about the same story that we talked about on Wednesday. So if you didn't, then this will be a new story for you. But we are so excited to start our brand new series talking all about kindness and showing others how valuable they really are. That's what our month of February is going to be all about. So we have a great series. Let me pray with you. I have a couple announcements, and then I'm going to hand it over to Andy to tell us some cool stuff about what he does and how he shows kindness in the work that he does. So let's pray first. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for today, and we thank you for this lesson about kindness. And God, we've learned about how we can show kindness to others because you have shown kindness to us. And God, help us as we learn about who else we should show kindness to. God, we thank you for those that are watching this morning or this afternoon, whenever they're watching. And God, we just pray that you would bless them and that you would speak to their hearts and their minds as they listen to this story about kindness. We love you. Amen. So we are still meeting in person on Sunday mornings at 10:30 in the morning. So we would love to have you come and join us for Power Factory live in person downstairs, or you're welcome to watch our videos on Facebook in our Facebook group or on our YouTube channel. Just a quick reminder, YouTube, it will be a shorter version as we don't put all of our curriculum videos on there. So if you want the full version of Power Factory, make sure that you watch it on our Facebook page. Otherwise, shortened version on our YouTube channel. Second thing, we will begin meeting in person the first Wednesday in March for our Power Factory here on Wednesday nights. That will be the beginning of March. And then also March 7th, which is a Sunday morning, we will begin all of our Sunday school classes. And don't worry if you have forgotten who your teacher is, or maybe even you've forgotten where your class is. We are going to have a kickoff that Sunday just to join back together, and we'll have a time of fellowship as we will tell you where your class is. So March 7th will be our first Sunday back for Sunday school, and then Power Factory like we normally would. And then March 4th, I believe, will be our first Wednesday back for Power Factory. So we are so excited to be moving forward and all of the plans that will come with that. Also, February 17th, we'll have our Ash Wednesday service, so there won't be Power Factory live on Facebook that day, but we invite you and your family to come and join us for our Ash Wednesday service. It's going to be a great service you're not going to want to miss, and it will also be broadcast, so if you aren't comfortable quite yet coming in, meeting in person, we invite you to come and watch it on all of our platforms that we have it all on. So I'm so excited to start this new series. Andy is a great special friend of mine and my family. He has a really special talent or job that goes along with our series. So throughout the month of February, we're going to show some little clips of stuff that he does, how he shows kindness in his job that he has, and also just a little bit more information about what he does and what it looks like. So we had a teaser video a couple of weeks ago, and so now you're going to get to meet my friend Andy McDermott, and you are going to see all of the cool things that he does, so you're not going to want to miss it. After his video, we will have our new worship song that comes with our kindness series, so we can begin practicing that and learning those words. And then I have a very special story that we will do. And then we have the so-and-so show, of course, at the end. So I hope that you enjoy Power Factory this morning and that you are challenged and you learn something new. So let's hand it over to Ian.
Hi, hey, I'm Andy McDermott. I'm the driver of the WeatherTech American Sedan number 24 race car in the SCCA. We've been doing this as a hobby for almost 30 years now. So all of my friends volunteer their time, including your pastor's father. We have a lot of fun at it. It's a little bit of heartache now and again, and a terrible amount of money, of course, but we have a lot of fun together. It's really good camaraderie, friendship, and really all of our friends have we've formed a team, and it really works super well. We have a lot of fun. So the car is it's a 2014 Ford Mustang, and there's nothing stock about it other than its appearance roughly. So if you walk around the car a little bit, you'll see that there's a couple tire marks on it because it just is fresh from a race. And we did get in an accident there, so we're repairing the accident damage right now, along with our wintertime going through the whole car and make sure everything's okay and freshening up things that are worn out.
Well, this month we are talking about how we can be super fans of each other by showing kindness. Last week we found out why we should be kind in the first place, even when it's super difficult, even when we don't want to show kindness to other people. We learned that we should show kindness because God shows kindness to us. But sometimes it's not easy to be kind to people. I think for a lot of us, the hardest people to be kind to are the people that we know really well. Maybe you can even think of somebody in your mind or in your family that's super hard to be kind to. Think about it. It's pretty easy to be kind to someone that you've just met. Maybe you met someone at school, maybe you met someone at the store, but it might be a lot harder to be kind to your brother or your sister when they're doing their absolute best to annoy you. It might be hard to show kindness to your parents when they make you do something that you just don't want to do. It also might be hard to show kindness to your friends when they do something that hurts your feelings. Like we learned last week on Wednesday, kindness isn't always easy, but today's story might help you and help me to see how we can show kindness to the people who are closest to us. So I've got some weird kind of props to help me tell my story this morning. But our story comes from the book of Ruth. And Ruth, as we know, has a great story. You can find her story in the Old Testament. So here we have a woman by the name of Ruth. But before we get into Ruth, there's some other important characters that are a part of our story. But first, let's start with a woman by the name of Naomi. Naomi was married to a man and had a husband, and her and her husband had 2 sons. Well, just like any other family, the sons would then go and get married. One of the sons getting married to Ruth, and one of the sons getting married to a woman named Orpah. Well, Naomi and her family went to Moab because there wasn't enough food for them back in their home of Judah. So they lived in Judah, but they needed to go to a new place because there was what we call a famine. There wasn't enough food to feed their whole family. So Naomi's sons have gotten married, as we've already heard. One of them named Ruth, one of them named Orpah, the wives. But sadly, Naomi's husband died. And to make matters even worse, Ruth and Orpah's husbands also died. Well, Naomi had heard that there was food back in Judah. So they're in Moab, and now they're going to travel back to their homeland. And actually, this would have been just Naomi's homeland. Ruth and Orpah were not from Judah. So she decided, Naomi, I'm going to go back to my homeland. I'm going to go back to Judah. And Ruth and Orpah started to come with her. They didn't have husbands anymore. They also had no children. So they decided, we're going to follow you, our mother-in-law, to go back to Judah. But Naomi told them to go back to Moab. Go back to where you came from. Stay with your families. Your families can take care of you. She even said, both of you, go back, each of you, to your own mother's homes. You were kind to your husbands who have died, and you have also been kind to me. So may the Lord be just as kind to you. Well, Naomi did convince Orpah to go back to Moab. But Ruth did something a little bit different. Ruth was determined to stay by Naomi's side. She told Naomi this: don't try to make me leave you and go back. Where you go, I will go. Where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God will be my God. Well, Naomi decided, I'm not going to argue with you, Ruth. I will let you follow me. Even though Naomi knew in her heart and probably in her mind that this wasn't the best idea. She should just go back to where her family was. But Ruth decided to travel with Naomi to Judah. Well, Ruth and Naomi would arrive in Naomi's hometown, a small town you've probably heard of, Bethlehem. And when they got settled there, Ruth asked Naomi if she could go and gather some food for them. Naomi agreed, and Ruth went out into the field and picked up leftover grain. So that's where we meet another character. There are so many characters in this story, but we meet a man by the name of Boaz. So Boaz was a man who had lots of fields, and he owned a field where Ruth was picking up extra grain. Now, God had made a special law saying that when they were harvesting the fields, when they were picking up the grains or whatever was in the field at that time, they were to leave some grain behind for those people that couldn't afford it. So that was a law that God had made for all of the harvesters. When you're harvesting, make sure to drop some, or if you do drop some of the grain, leave it there so that those coming behind you can come and pick up what was left over. So Ruth found herself with lots of the other women picking up the grains that were left behind from the harvesters in Boaz's field. That way she could gather them and have food for her and Naomi to eat. Well, Boaz took notice of Ruth. He noticed, and I'm sure he probably knew the women that were in the field picking up the grain afterward, but he noticed there was somebody new in his field. So what does he do? He asks, who is this woman that's also in the field? Well, he soon found out that this was a family member of Naomi, and that she was picking up grain for her and Naomi to eat. Boaz saw the kindness that Ruth was showing to her family, that she had stuck by Naomi's side. And he also decided that he wanted to do something kind for her. So here's what he said. Dear woman, and he's talking to Ruth, listen to me. Don't pick up grain in any other field. Don't go anywhere else. Stay here with the women who work for me. Keep your eye on the field where the men are cutting grain, and walk behind the women who are gathering it. Pick up the grain that is left. I've told the men not to bother you. And when you are thirsty, go and get a drink. Take water from the jars that the men have filled. Boaz was showing kindness to Ruth. He offered her some bread and roasted grain to eat, and at the end of the day, Ruth was able to bring some of the leftovers plus a huge load of grain back to Naomi. Well, Ruth continued to work in Boaz's fields until the end of the grain harvest, and Naomi knew that God had set up a special way for Boaz to rescue her family. So she told Ruth, go visit Boaz in secret at the end of the day or at the end of the harvest. So when Boaz woke up in the middle of the night, he saw Ruth there laying at his feet. And that must have been quite a shock to see Ruth laying at his feet, just wondering, what is happening? Ruth asked Boaz to give her protection since he, as a relative, was responsible for helping their family. You see, back in those days, in the Bible times, women relied on the men to help them. They relied on them to feed them and to gather the things that they needed. And so when husbands had passed away and there was no one left off to marry, there would be what was called a kinsman redeemer, and that was Boaz. Boaz would be the one that could come as a relative and help save this family, help give them the things that they needed. And so Ruth and Naomi knew that Boaz was the one that could help both of them. They needed someone to come and help their family. Well, Boaz definitely wanted to help her, but there was something that he needed to do first. So there was another family member who was more closely related than Boaz. And so Boaz needed to check with the other family member first. So Boaz wanted to make sure he was also following all of the rules. Boaz went to go find the other man, who doesn't have a name in our story, and the town elders to see if he could buy Naomi's land and also marry Ruth. Guess what? It worked out. The man agreed, and Boaz and Ruth were married, and Naomi came to live with them. A short time later, our story's not even finished yet. A short time later, Ruth and Boaz had a baby. Do you know what that baby's name was? Obed. Now you're probably thinking, well, what's so important about Obed? Well, because of Ruth's kindness, Naomi didn't have to face life alone. Because of Boaz's kindness, he and Ruth were married, and Naomi had a new home and a new family with them. Because all of them showed kindness to each other, there was a pretty sweet ending to this story. We started the story where Naomi's husband has died, and now her two sons have died. And we kind of think, what is going to happen to these poor women? What is going to happen now? Obed, the son of Ruth and Boaz, would eventually have a son named Jesse. And Jesse was the father of King David. Many hundreds of years later, there was a baby born through their family line. Can you guess who that was? Jesus. All of that happened because Ruth decided to show kindness to Naomi. It's not always easy to show kindness to our family members and even to our closest friends. We spend so much time together that if we're not careful, we can get on each other's nerves. When we were in lockdown, I'm sure we got on each other's nerves with our family members. We were seeing them all the time and we didn't have the space that we needed. And we can forget to show our family and friends how important they are to us. But Ruth's story shows us that God can do it, or that shows what God can do through us when we choose to be kind to the people who are closest to us. Our bottom line this morning is this: be kind to your family and friends. Not just be kind to others, but also be kind to the people that God has placed in your life. So you've probably noticed that I have 3 types of ropes on our stage. So I was thinking about kindness and thinking about how this story could be totally different if one person decided that they weren't going to be kind. Maybe they held a grudge. Maybe they just decided, I really don't want to be kind to that other person. Or even, why should I be kind to that other person? Naomi could have decided she didn't want to be kind to Ruth. She had so many horrible things happen to her in her life. So this first rope is going to represent Naomi. Naomi had a very troubled life. On her own, this rope is pretty strong on its own. But she needed someone else to come and help her and to show her how valuable she really was. So I have this gold one that's going to represent Ruth. Now Ruth also wanted to show kindness to Naomi. Now by her showing kindness to Naomi, something happened. Naomi was realizing she was valuable, that Ruth wasn't just doing it just to be kind because she was a family member, but something different happened, I'm sure, in her heart, in her mind, and it became a stronger bond. She realized that she really was valuable, not just because she was a family member, but by showing the kindness that she needed. So now my rope is really, really strong. It's really strong in the kindness that Ruth showed to Naomi. And Naomi accepted that kindness that Ruth had. But then we have another person that came in who, yes, would help and save the family. This one's really long. But also he saw this kindness that was shown from Ruth. She followed her family members to a place where her family wasn't living, but she decided to follow and be with Naomi even then. I also think kindness is contagious. Boaz saw the kindness that Ruth had toward Naomi. It was kind of different that he would show that kindness to Naomi, that she would show that kindness to Naomi. But then, what did Boaz do? Boaz also was showing kindness to Ruth and also to Naomi by giving them the extra grain that they needed, by making sure that they were all taken care of. Something amazing. If I wanted to try to pull this apart, there'd be no way that I could pull this apart. Kindness makes a difference in each other's lives. When we can show kindness to other people, there's this value that people feel, there's this bond that people feel, and because of their kindness, something amazing happened. Jesus would become a part of their family. Many, many, many years later, he would be born into their family, but all because kindness was shown. When we show people how valuable they are, when we cheer people on, when we tell them, great job, when we tell them that they are awesome, and we are big supporters, we are super fans of other people, great things can really happen. I love this story, and I think it's a great story to remind ourselves not only that we need to show kindness, which is also a fruit of the Spirit, but also what it really can do to help other people. If we can just show them how valuable they are, how awesome they are, how cool they are, we can really make a huge, huge difference.